Hello. Today I'm going to talk about Google Cloud Platform. It's also known as GCP. Google Cloud Platform is a cloud provider, and it's similar to what AWS offers, and it's similar to what Microsoft Azure offers. It gives you resources and it allows you to configure them in a cloud and allows you to access those resources. So here's what I want to talk about today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into about 3 parts. The first part, I'm going to be setting up the project. So there's like this groups called projects. So I'm going to set that up. I'm going to be also creating a compute instance, which is what Google Cloud Projects or Google Cloud Platform calls their VMs. And then I'm also going to be introducing the Cloud Shell, which is a tool that is offered by GCP. And as far as I know, it's the only cloud provider that integrates a shell directly into the browser. So here's me. My name is Jeff Jung. There's my LinkedIn and my Twitter. I'm linkedin.com/Jeffrey-Jung. And Twitter is at JeffJung14. I'm a student of cybersecurity. I am interested in the information security sector and all the new technology and the exciting field that is blossoming. I'm Chinese and Japanese, and I like to hike. I like to be outdoors, and I like nature. And I'm also a content creator. I like to make videos. I like to make podcasts, and hopefully you like this video. Before I start, I just want to say that this video is brought to you by Virtually Testing. Virtually Testing is a 501c3 nonprofit. They focus on education, charity, and innovation within the tech space. And to do this lab and demo, you really only need one version of software. That's Ubuntu 18.04. If anything else, you need a web browser, and that's about it. And because you just sign up for your account. So, why should you watch this video? You will learn how to create what's called a project in GCP. You will learn about a menu called a Hamburger Menu. You will learn how to create a compute instance, which is a VM machine. You will also learn how to SSH into that instance, and you will also learn about the G shell, the gcloud shell, and you'll also just generally learn about navigating the GCP console. So, welcome to the journey, and hope you enjoy. So let's see what we got next. The first thing I want to talk about is what is Google Cloud. Google Cloud Platform, GCP, is a set of services that runs on Google's own infrastructure that's available to purchase or rent time on. It's just like any other cloud provider. So GCP is separated into these like different regions, and the regions are spread across the world, and they are like in places like California. They're in places like Ohio, and they're in places like Brazil, and you can select which region you're in, and depending on the region, it you can not only get your resources closer to people, but you can also be under like a strategic jurisdiction. So, like, let's say, because whatever you make in the region will not move out of the region, it will stay on the servers that are located within that region. And each region is made of 3 zones. And a zone is like a a a, cent, a zone is like a data center, and it's like they're networked within the region with like really high speed bandwidth, like a really high speed bandwidth network, so that you can keep your machines within this like just network of this network of hosting of machines that are hosting like all kinds of stuff. And you just log in and you put your things on there. There's also 144 network edge locations, and it's available in 200 plus countries and territories. So that's what's great about it, is it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can always just log in and access these machines like instantly. It's it's a really great technology, and it's all done because of these like spread out data centers across the world. Here's just a map of where Google Cloud Platform puts their data centers. So these are the 24 regions. As you can see, they're on every single continent except for Africa, and they're always also expanding these regions. So by the time you watch this video, they may have more regions, but that's what is there for now. And like I said, Google Cloud Platform keeps adding regions, and they keep adding resources, and they keep adding services and resources that you can utilize. So the first thing I want to talk about is projects, right? So a project is, to me, from what I think it is, because I just looked it up, I think it's like an organizational strategy. So like if you have like a bunch of different resources, like virtual machines, and then like virtual hard drives, and then like little like network components, like you want to group those together, like depending on like what division you are in within your organization. So like you can make a different project and have like your virtual machines in one project, and then if it logically makes sense to make another project to put different virtual machines and different resources in, you can do that. And I don't think Amazon has this. I think this is exclusive to GCP, where they like this step before making your components, you get to set up like this organizational grouping that your components are in. So I just wanted to show you like this is how the organization is like structured. You'd have your organization, which you sign up for, and like once you sign up for a GCP account, you'll like have an organization that you put on there, and then your organization like holds everything that you make. And then each organization has like folders that are subsections of the organization, and then each folder has users that are also a subsection of the folders of the organization. And then each user has the part that we're talking about, which is projects, and you can make multiple projects for each user. So like if you're doing like a different, if you're working on a different project, you put your resources in that project. And then each project has the services or resources. So, just to give an example of like how a project would be used within this thing, within this whole structure, like let's say you're Sony Entertainment, right? Like if you're Sony, you have multiple divisions. So like maybe you would have like an entertainment division, you might have like an accounting division, you might have a like hardware sales division, so you have these like different logical groupings, and then like so each division would be like its own folder, and then like within the folder you have different users, right? So your accounting division would have like several different accountants in there who utilize these services and projects. And then like that would be separated from your entertainment division, which would have a different set of users with different projects using different resources. So it just like puts everything under one umbrella. And I think it's a really good strategy to organize things. But that's just from what I could gather, that's what projects are for. They're just like something that you do before you make a resource, so you can go back and like map out like what's being used within your organization. So I want to start out by just going through the steps of a project. So like this is a picture of the GCP console, they call it. Like the user interface is called the console. And so the first step you go is like up in the left corner, there's that little box that says my first project. And that's where you can like switch between projects. So you click on that first. And then this menu pops up. And what this menu does is it lists your projects. And then in the top right of that menu, you can click on New Project if you want to start a new project. Or this is what I'm going to do in the demo after this, right? I'm going to click on New Project and I'm going to create a new one. And then this like information page will open up and you can put in like the title of your project. I put in compute instance. And then you have to click on the edit because you want to name, you click on that little edit button and then you want to name, you want to give your ID, you want to give an ID to your project. So I called it compute instance - Jeff Jung. And then you go down a little bit and you click on create. So let's switch over to the demo and let's actually do it. you saw what I did was I created the project, I named it, and then I went to the menu where, like the project menu, and then I selected the project that I just made, and it switches like all the information to that project. And you'll see when we get to the end, like working with the shell, like how a project, how making a project is like a good investment. It's a wise investment. You'll see, like, because you can interact with it. So that's it for making projects. So if you've made, that's how you make a project. Let's move on to probably why you're watching this, which is creating a compute instance. And so this is like making a VM in with GCP. So the first thing you do is you click on the left, top left, and see those 3 lines? You click on those 3 lines, and that's a menu. And some people call that a hamburger menu because the 3 lines look like a hamburger. You know, it looks like the bun and the patty and then another bun underneath. So you click on the hamburger menu, and it pops up with like all these different categories. And what I want to click on to make a VM, I want to click on compute engine, because the compute engine is what GCP calls their VMs. So you click on compute engine, and then this other menu will pop up, and you click on VM instances, and that's like a list of all the VMs that you're creating. And then what's going to happen is, if it's like the first VM that you're making, if it's a brand new project, this menu is going to pop up. You see off to the right, and you can create, import, or take a quick start. And what you click on is create, because what you're going to do is you're going to create a new VM, and you're going to start from scratch. So when you click on that new VM, what's going to happen is this like information screen is going to pop up, and you're supposed to fill out the information. So you put in the name of your VM, you select the region. You can select anywhere in the world, but you should select the one that's closest to you so that the latency is the least, meaning that the information has to travel the least amount of distance to get to the data centers. But if you want to, say, do something fancier, like reach customers in a certain region of the world, then you would select the region where you want to reach the people, if that makes sense. And then you want to select the machine type. For me, I'm just going to make a really lightweight machine because I'm not planning on hosting anything or doing anything. I'm just going to make a machine with like 1 core and like 2 gigs of RAM. That should be enough to SSH into. So it's a micro instance. Then you scroll down a little bit, and you get to select the boot disk. So the boot disk is what type of operating system we're going to run, and I'm going to run Ubuntu 18.04, but the default is Debian. But you go next to it and you click change next to the Debian, and then this menu is going to pop up, and then that's where you select Ubuntu, then Ubuntu 18.04, and then you, at the bottom, once you've done that, you click on select. And now you're all done, right? You keep scrolling down and you click create, and the VM spins up and it's ready. So let's hop into the demo, and you get to see what it looks like interacting with the console, and what you would do with to create your VM. that's how you do a VM. You can see at the end, it pops up in the VM instances menu, and then there's like a little green checkbox next to it. That means it's online. When you do go to that create, when you do first go to the VM instances menu for the first time after you've made the project, it does take a couple minutes to initialize and for the environment to be available. But it's, as you can see, it's a pretty simple process. You just have to get you just basically put in the information that you want the VM and select your operating system, and then you create it and just wait, and it will come up in the instances. It's very similar to Amazon making a VM in AWS is just like making a VM in GCP. So yeah, that's all I can really say about creating a compute instance. Let's move on. So now what I want to do is I want to take that VM instance and I want to SSH into that instance. So to do that, I'm going to go back to that VM instances menu and go to the VM that I want to SSH into. And then there, you'll see off to the right, there's like a connection like column. And so you click on the arrow next to SSH, and then you click on open in browser, or open in browser window. And what happens is, and this is unlike AWS, the browser window is going to pop up and it's going to start connecting to the VM automatically. Like in AWS, you have to, I think, download the key, then you have to change the read permissions of the key, and then you have to navigate to the directory the key is in, and then you have to you can type in your SSH command to get to the SSH instance into the VM. And that's how you do it in Linux. But with GCP, you could be using any sort of OS, right? You can be on Windows, and the SSH instance is going to just open up in a browser. You can be on Linux, and the SSH instance is just going to open up in the same browser. And also, you don't have to transfer keys. It transfers the keys automatically. So this terminal opens up, and then you don't even have to like type in a password or anything. You're just in the shell, and like as you can see here, you just type sudo bash and you get root to the shell. It's quite simple compared to AWS. So if you're having problems with the SSH process, GCP is a good option because it automates a lot of stuff for you. So that's all I can really think about for SSH. Let's go to the demo, and I'll show you how it's done. See, that was it. Like, you just basically click that you want to connect to it, and you just wait, and it'll connect, and you're in, real easy. Um, yeah, I was very impressed when I first did this, and when I was researching how to SSH into it, I was really surprised that you didn't have to, there was no process of downloading keys or anything. It just like was going to do it all automatically. And if you read that window, it says like transferring keys over to the machine, and then it connects it, and then like it changes. It says connecting to the machine, and like I didn't have to press any buttons. It just did that automatically. So now I want to finish with just something I think is important. This is basically what we've done so far is we've made a project, we've put a machine into that project, and then we've connected to that machine. This part is just like something a little bit extra. You really should see what GCP offers. And what they offer is this thing called a gcloud shell. And what it is it's a terminal that it's like a terminal that is controlling the console, right? So instead of going through the user interface and like clicking on the menus and clicking on stuff with the mouse, there is a backend where you can type in commands and have those commands control the terminal. Now, where this really comes in handy is when you're automating stuff. You automate through the gcloud shell. So you write a script, and that script that you write will do commands that you would do in the console. So like if you're in the console, you can't automate like switching to a different menu and changing a setting with your mouse, but you can automate that process through a shell, right? Because you just write a script and you just put the commands in, and it'll do those commands one after the other. So, and also what's really cool about the shell is that it's integrated into the browser. So again, if you're on a different operating system, it doesn't matter which operating system you're on, just as long as you have a browser, the shell will open up in the browser, and you'll be able to interact with the console, and you won't have to open up any external programs. So to activate the shell, you first go in the top right hand corner, and there's like a little like universal terminal icon, right? So it's like that the prompt, and you click on that, and the shell just like pops up basically, and that's what it looks like. It says your name, and it says the project right there, and there's a whole bunch of commands that you can do. Today I'm just going to go through two of those commands. I'm going to go through how to switch between projects, and then I'm going to also go through listing computing instances, and I'll show you what a picture of listing the instance looks like, right? You can type in that command right there, and it'll show you what's running. It'll show you the VMs that are running. So like the VM that we just made will show up, and it will show you the IPs of that VM. And it gives you the same information as you could get by going through the console and clicking on VM and getting that information through the console. But you can do it with just one command. So I'll just show you real quick what the two commands look like. Right, so this is the example of switching between projects. Here I'm typing in gcloud config set project, and then I'm going to the project that I want to switch to, and then you'll see in the prompt in the command line, it'll switch to the different project, and you can see, right, if you have multiple projects, how convenient this is to be able to switch between the projects and be able to quickly list or access the resources that are within that project. I think it's very powerful to be able to just switch between it with one command. And then one thing I should say is, when you do switch between the projects, the first time you do it, you have to authorize an API call. So this little menu will pop up, and you have to click authorize, and then once you click authorize, then it will switch the project, because what it's doing is the shell is accessing the console with an API call. And so to do that, you need to approve it, because API calls are computing resources, and they'll, they cost money to perform. So you have to authorize it to do that. And then this is just what I showed you in the last slide. It's an example of what happens when you list the instances. So gcloud compute instances list. So now I'm going to do the demo of just opening up the shell and, kind of interacting with it real quick. So let's hop over to the demo. So, as you can see, that was really quick and easy. That was the shell, real fast. Just showing you a couple things that you could do with it. That's the end of the demo and presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Google Cloud Platform is quite a nice tool. It's very user friendly. It is an alternative to AWS. It offers as much of the same services, if not of all of the same services. And there's, great potential in it. And I think it's very user friendly. I think it's well thought out with like being able to going into the cloud through the console, and also having SSHs just pop up in the browser. I think it's very powerful. And yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and join me again next time for the next video, and let's keep this up. So have a good day.